On Fowl of Tyrant Wing is the third full-length album from BÜTCHER. This is a German, I guess, black and speed metal slash heavy metal group, and one that has incorporated various levels of black metal into their sound over time. And their sound is much more close to classic speed metal in general, but they've worked in a lot of their own personality on this record in particular, which changes what you'd expect from them in general. And so their grounding is definitely in underground 80s heavy metal. They're huge fans of obscure shit, and you can hear it all over this record. I could come up with a million sort of name drops. I've tried to pull back on that a little bit in reviews, but they're clearly big fans of both heavy metal and early extreme metal, 80s metal in general. You can feel it all over the place on this record. You can start with a vocalist who's very much over the top, has a huge range. You'll hear death metal vocals, black metal, shrieks of his own. It's just it's a thing at this point that this band has their own personality, and it really stands out from their first record, but more so from their second. 666 Goats Carry My Chariot certainly broke the band out in a bigger way. I thought it was a good record. It almost went as far as it should have, and now that we step into this record 4 years later, now they're fully pushing it into their own thing, and I think it really stands out now. Otherwise, if you're a fan of Niflheim, their earlier sound with all the bursting aggression on those first two records, and Disaster, which is just kind of a classic band you should know if you like black thrash and heavy metal, they certainly fit in that kind of mold and that influence, but they've done a lot on this record to stand out. So we'll cut to a clip here, and then I'll sort of elucidate what all that means in motion. So in approaching new extremes and expanding their sound, I say that the band has basically gone backwards and not forwards, and that means that we get a little bit more kind of 70s heavy metal movement on some of this. We get early power metal on here. We get some Manowar feeling stuff. We also get some black death metal stuff here along the way. There's a lot of surprises that kind of crop up on those first like 5 songs, even though that really is signature BÜTCHER in many ways, and they established that sound on their last record, and they iterate upon it on side A here. It's a pretty consistent chunk of songs, and we from the start we do hear some classic 80s heavy metal stuff in there. If you were a fan of the Black Evil record that I just reviewed not too long ago, they do a lot with the dynamic of their sound to fit some new stuff in there on the start of this record. Then we switch over to side B, and we start to get more of the not only heavy rock structured songs. They've got much more long and involved compositions that are 7 to 10 minutes long, and it really extends the life of this album beyond expectations. They'd technically already been there on their previous album, and this time around they really lean into it on the second half in a way that is a different face for the band. It's something that is more collectively interesting. It's something that is more singular, and while their signature is interesting in its own right, I think expanding it in this way makes for something that is their own, and also it gives them another option. It gives dynamic to the record. It gives the record a feeling of transitional value. It feels like there's a ton of variety because of it, and also an appreciation for heavy metal that goes beyond maybe some references to old speed metal and whatnot. I think they're able to expand their taste, which is obviously quite broad, into many more things. And I think this is much more interesting than maybe going in more of a black metal direction or whatnot, because I think this makes for a great record. It really expands it in kind of an epic way, and it makes it an experience that I was happy to return to every time I had a chance, because it was something that I looked forward to. I looked forward to getting to that second half of the record. So obviously an above average record, one that I can recommend heartily. And I think it's for a specific type of fan. It is maybe more immersive than I had expected, and it was really more about breaking those expectations than it was breaking the mold entirely. But we still get something that makes BÜTCHER stand out more than ever, and I think that's an important thing to do at this point in kind of their career, because it's a name that I look forward to now because of this record and the previous. So if you like the last one, you probably like this one. There's some changes that are pretty dramatic, and I think that's a good thing. So check it out yourself. It released on October 25th, and read my review for more of my thoughts.